The city of Lathoria had always been a beacon of hope in a fractured world. Its towering spires and cobblestone streets held the whispers of centuries of perseverance, a monument to humanity's ability to endure. The citizens lived in harmony, an interwoven tapestry of cultures and livelihoods. From the bustling markets where traders hawked spices and fabrics, to the quiet neighborhoods where artisans plied their crafts, the city thrived. But that was before the invaders came. It began subtly, as insidious takeovers often do. Strangers arrived in the city, their appearances flawless, indistinguishable from the residents themselves. They blended seamlessly into the crowds, their faces adorned with kind smiles and warm eyes. At first, they seemed harmless, travelers looking for opportunities or escapees seeking refuge. But beneath their human facade lurked something malevolent. They were not people at all, but monstrous beings capable of mimicking human form, intent on subjugating the city. The transformation of Lathoria from a place of hope to one of fear was rapid. The impostors infiltrated positions of power, merchants, guards, city officials. They spread disinformation and dissent, sowing seeds of doubt among the population. Friends turned on friends, families grew suspicious of one another, and a pervasive sense of paranoia took hold. The impostors' true nature was revealed when they began enforcing brutal control over the city. Anyone who resisted their growing authority disappeared, their fates whispered about in hushed tones. Those who returned bore blank, haunted expressions, their will seemingly broken. The invaders' purpose was unclear. They made no overt demands and took no resources save the city itself. Yet their presence alone was enough to choke the spirit of Lathoria. Streets that had once rung with laughter now echoed with silence. The bustling marketplaces became empty husks, their stalls abandoned. The impostors moved freely, their perfect human forms masking the malice within. Lathoria was theirs, or so it seemed. Not everyone succumbed to despair. In the shadows of the crumbling city, a group of civilians gathered in defiance. They were not warriors, but ordinary people, builders, healers, teachers, and scavengers. What they lacked in combat training, they made up for in resolve. Among them was Saris, a blacksmith whose calloused hands had once forged tools for life, but now shaped weapons for survival. Beside her stood Arlen, a cartographer whose intimate knowledge of the city's labyrinthine alleys and hidden passages made him invaluable. There was Doran, a farmer with unyielding strength, and Myra, a former medic who tended to the wounds of their resistance. They were joined by dozens more, each bringing their own skills and unshakable determination. The civilians' resistance began with small acts of rebellion. They sabotaged the impostors' operations, setting traps in abandoned buildings and rigging supplies to fail. They painted messages of hope and defiance on walls, reminders that the city's spirit was not yet extinguished. Arlen led daring expeditions into the heart of the city, gathering intelligence on the impostors' movements. Saris forged crude but effective weapons in secret forges hidden beneath collapsed buildings. Myra patched up the wounded, her hands steady despite the chaos surrounding her. But the impostors were cunning. They retaliated with swift and brutal efficiency, hunting down suspected rebels with relentless precision. Entire families were dragged from their homes, their cries echoing in the night. The impostors' monstrous nature became increasingly apparent. When cornered or enraged, they shed their human guises, revealing grotesque forms of shifting flesh and razor-sharp appendages. Their bodies defied human anatomy, twisting and contorting as though composed of liquid darkness. To fight them was to confront a nightmare made real. Despite the escalating danger, the civilians pressed on. They devised ways to exploit the impostors' weaknesses. Observations revealed that the monsters were vulnerable to fire, their grotesque forms recoiling from even the smallest flames. Using this knowledge, the resistance crafted makeshift incendiaries, using oil and chemicals scavenged from the city's ruins. They also learned to recognize subtle tells in the impostors' behavior, their inability to mimic genuine human emotions for long, the unnatural stillness in their movements. The resistance's turning point came when they uncovered the impostors' central lair. Beneath the city's grand cathedral, a vast network of tunnels had been repurposed into a command center. Here, the impostors stored their true forms while their human disguises operated above. The discovery filled the civilians with both hope and dread. To strike at the lair would mean confronting the invaders head-on, an almost certain death sentence. But it was also their best chance to reclaim Lathoria. The plan was audacious, born of desperation and necessity. Arlen mapped a route through the tunnels, identifying weak points in the impostors' defenses. Saris and her team crafted incendiary devices to unleash within the lair. Joran led a diversionary force to draw the impostors away from the city's center, giving the strike team a slim window of opportunity. Every civilian played a role, their lives interwoven in a tapestry of resistance. The night of the attack was marked by an eerie calm. The city seemed to hold its breath as the resistance moved into position. Joran's diversion worked as intended, drawing dozens of impostors into a chaotic chase through the outskirts. Meanwhile, the strike team descended into the tunnels, their torches casting flickering shadows on the damp walls. The air grew colder as they approached the lair, the oppressive presence of the impostors almost palpable. When they struck, it was with everything they had. The incendiaries ignited, bathing the lair in searing light and heat. The impostors, caught off guard, shrieked in agony as their monstrous forms writhed and melted. The resistance fought with a ferocity born of desperation, using fire and improvised weapons to hold the line. The tunnels became a battlefield, the echoes of conflict reverberating through the earth. The cost was immense. Many civilians fell, their bodies broken but their spirits unyielding. Myra worked tirelessly to save as many as she could, her hands slick with blood. Saris fought until her arms ached, her makeshift blade cleaving through impostor after impostor. Arlen navigated the chaos, guiding survivors through escape routes and collapsing tunnels to trap the monsters inside. As dawn broke over Lathoria, the resistance emerged from the tunnels, battered but alive. The impostors had been driven back, their lair reduced to smoldering ruins. The city lay in ruins, its streets scarred by the conflict, but the people stood together. Their victory was bittersweet, the cost of freedom was etched into every face. Yet, in their eyes burned the same fire that had driven them to resist, a fire that could never be extinguished. The impostors did not return. Whether they were eradicated or had fled in defeat, no one could say. What mattered was that Lathoria endured. The city began to heal, its people rebuilding not just their homes but their spirit. They honored the fallen, their names etched into a monument at the city's heart. The story of the resistance became legend, a testament to the strength of ordinary people in the face of unimaginable terror. Lathoria would never be the same, but it remained a beacon of hope, a city that had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. Though the pain lingered and scars remained, the people knew they had reclaimed not just their home, but their humanity. And so, with weary hearts and steadfast resolve, they moved forward, determined to protect what they had fought so hard to preserve.